Hey guys, welcome to another episode of East Coast Rams. I am your co-host Ashton here with my awesome co-host Zach. How you doing, Zach? It's a victory Tuesday as we are recording. Got our first victory Monday and what it feels like a lifetime. So
I know it's been 3 weeks since we really got to be able to have a victory Monday. Been a long drought, but we finally broken it. We broke the November curse
yeah.
of not winning a November game since 2020. Um, that's feels pretty good. And I think the team's probably feeling really good. I mean, we saw the celebration afterwards in the locker room. They say that's the most hyped that locker room has been all season. So that's really great to see. But we're also Thanksgiving week, so happy early Thanksgiving to you and to everyone who's listening to us. Yeah, so everything's been going pretty well. You doing well?
Yeah, man. You know, that mac and cheese always hits, but the mac and cheese with the dub Rams dub, it hits a little bit better, Zach. Just makes everything feel much better. You get to watch Thursday and Friday football this week, a little bit more relaxed going into Sunday, and we can kind of roll into the game now. Let's be frank, Zach. Not a pretty game, not a great game by this team, but it was a must-win game, and I we can that can become a cliche. But if you look at the standings, the odds to make the playoffs, this was really a game where, in order to get a chance at the wild card, we had to win this. Realistically, if we lost, even if we won out after this, the chances of making the playoffs dwindle, especially with two really, really hard games against 49ers and Ravens. If we were going to drop either of those, we're going to have to win this game. And we did. It came at the cost of Justin, or not Justin Tucker, at their Mayor. What's their kicker? Uh,
Myers.
Myers, yeah, at Myers' expense at a 55-yarder. And you never want to count on a kicker missing a kick, especially one as good as Meyer. Like he has been pretty good. He even kicked a 60-yarder against us 2 years ago. So um yeah, let's kind of go into this game, Zach. What was your initial reaction to this 1 point victory?
Yeah, it was a very weird game. There's not
Yes.
too many highlights that come out of it, especially on the offensive side. I still feel like the offense has still been very lackluster. Um, But then we look at the defense, and you we see this week to week that everyone's so frustrated with the defense. They do the long plays. We're frustrated with DK. We're frustrated with parts of this defense and the way it's coached and things like that. But if you take the season as the whole, this defense is, and I keep relaying this, is that this defense has played really well, and they played well
Yeah.
yesterday. Yes, did they get some passes called on them, some flags be thrown? Did the Seahawks make some good plays? Yes, they did. Did DK kind of mess up a little bit? He did, but he made up for it. But this defense held the Seahawks, who in right now is a top 11, top 12 team. If you look at the power rankings and really focus on those, and you look at their record, and they held them to one touchdown and three field goals. Um, that this team did really well, and they held them in two games. We've now swept the Seahawks. We've kept them in two games where they've scored 3 points in the second half. That's great. That's a defense that you want to see, especially on a defense who, going into this season, you didn't expect this. You expected the offense to carry this team, and it's really the defense that has been carrying this team this whole season.
No, I agree with you, Zach. I think we have to rightly point out that the Rams have faced five or six top 10 offenses in the league, and this defense statistically has been good. Now, not great. I think they struggle getting turnovers, and you have some worse, in my opinion, worse defenses that have been better at getting turnovers. And so you have seen less of an impact on the games. They allow longer drives than some other defenses, and that can be the frustrating part, right? Like they limit the explosive plays most of the time and just force these long drives and convert touchdowns into field goals. So they're not as explosive as other defenses, and I get it. We get frustrated.
You only have one defense. You only have one explosive defensive player currently, and that's Aaron Donald. Like he's the
But
only explosive player that we have really. I mean, we have some touches of here and there, but as far as defensive explosiveness, we really just have Aaron Donald. So as your point is, this defense isn't explosive. And when your offense is just continuing to get off the field quickly, your defense seems to be playing more
yeah,
and playing for longer. So
yeah.
it kind of throws that out there.
It, yeah, I mean, you have to also put in context, like, our offense has been atrocious for, I would say, every game but like three. We've had three really good offensive games, and it's kind of driven me crazy, Zach, because people are like, the offense is worse since Cup has gone back, and I do agree. I think that's more on McVay and Mike LaFleur than simply saying like, oh, Cup is doing his role worse than what Puka was doing. And guys, Puka was not playing Cup's role. The completely different role, not completely, but for most part, 80% different things than what Puka was doing. Puka wasn't doing option routes.
Yeah,
And Puka, like, there's some nuance in there. There's a difference from when Puka and Tutu were the first and secondary than when uh Cup and Puka were in there. And I do agree, like, there's something wrong with the scheming and the way this offense has been ran uh since we've been so ineffective with both in the lineup. And
I mean,
we're
I don't.
better when Cup gets out.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that at all. I hate to place the blame all solely on Sean McVay and Mike LaFleur, but I think when you look at it, it's also Stafford too. I mean, Stafford's the one making the
Yeah.
throws. He has his reads. He knows where the players are at, and sometimes, and again, I don't know because we're not in Matthew Stafford's brain, but sometimes I feel like we're forcing it to Cooper Cup, and it doesn't feel as forced when they throw it to Puka Nacua or Tutu Atwell or somebody else. I mean, even Tremmel came in when Cooper was injured, and he played very successfully. I mean, he just kept being targeted right after each other to get some chunk plays. So, I feel like Stafford is at his best when he's using all of his options. And he feels like he's at his worst when he's has to focus on one player. And sometimes I feel like he's trying to focus on Cup.
Yeah, but some of that's also on like the way the offense is giving options to the quarterback and McVay not giving that feedback to Stafford. Like, yes, it's on Stafford for not being able to execute thrown to the open guy, uh, having multiple reads on certain plays, but like McVay has to be able to tell Stafford to do that, right? Like, there's a give and take, and I think those three guys more, at least in my opinion, more Mike LaFleur and McVay than on Stafford. But Stafford does hold some blame there. And hopefully with Kyron coming back, and we can talk about the news here in a second, this offense can just start executing better. I think that's their biggest problem. They cannot execute these plays, whether that's because of health, because of practice. That flick, was it a flick that he threw the interception on? That was executed terribly.
It
And
was.
yes, you can give the Seahawks some credit for being able to read that, but like, that
I
means in
mean,
our practice we're not doing a good job of simulating better defenses.
that was tough. I mean, even Sean McVay said, they've tried that during practice multiple times to much success. They were getting way more pressure than I think they expected. And Stafford, obviously, that was the play that Stafford got blown down. He got a
Body,
helmet.
yeah.
Yeah, he got a helmet to the stomach, and got the wind after him, which he played miraculously better after that
Other
hit.
QBs would have got a flag for that too.
Oh, for
Let's
sure. I mean,
state that.
and
Yeah.
well, and I'm not even going to go against the Patrick Mahomes comparison too, because that's ridiculous of what happened there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, but Stafford did not have a good game. I mean, really before that hit, he was not doing well. I mean, if you look at him, he had a rating of 70.6, 17 for 31, 190 yards, was only averaging 6.1 per throw. But he did have that interception and then the touchdown. So the flea flicker, I mean, again, it's one of those things where you love to see that creativity. Tutu knew that he wasn't. The one good thing is I think Tutu was going to throw it. Realized he was getting the pressure and then tossed it back to Stafford, and Stafford tried to make a play, and it was just unfortunate that it happened the way it did. This game, and I'm going to summarize this game pretty to one thing. This was a game that the refs really played a heavy hand in. Now there was penalties that were accurate to be called on, but when you really look at this, I mean, both sides got penalized a bunch. For
Yeah.
for PI, for phantom PI, things like that. And whether you agree or disagree, both sides got called on both correct and incorrect plays. I mean, there was some
Yeah.
that I even saw in the Rams that was a lot of ticky tack. You shouldn't probably called it, but they did.
That end zone
Um,
PI. I think it was PI.
on Puka,
Yeah. That
yeah.
that
So, both sides got penalized a lot. Obviously, the Seahawks got penalized the most, but they had their chance to win the game. Their kicker didn't kick it. It was, I think it was almost even short. Like, even if he was straight on, I think it was short of making it.
Do you
So it
think
is what it is.
Puka was kind of held on that third down on our last drive? Because it kind of looked like to me there was a slight hold.
I think there was. I mean, this was the
But
game that he also got called on for.
it was a really really weirdly called game refing
It,
wise. But
it was, and
they
so that
they
was the
weirdly
game.
called for both teams.
They did. Like I said,
They were
it was.
consistently weird.
It was. But again, the one thing that I will say, like DK did a great job. He made that play of the interception. Kudos to him. Obviously, he needs to realize he can't go off and taunt the other team, the other sideline. It's one of those things where like DK I think he has the potential to be a really good CB, but it's the penalties. It's the penalties that are causing him and causing the fans really to push back on him.
Uh, fans are overall think he's a lot worse than he is when you're talking about the way he plays.
Sure, but it's because of those penalties that I think are highlighting it way more than him actually playing. Because if you actually
That's
look at
just
the
poor technique, though. Like, there's a
but it
difference
but it
between having poor technique and like just not being in the area code of a wide receiver and you get burnt, right? Like
sure.
not being able to play man. So like I think he has a lot of natural, and sorry to interrupt you, but like he has a lot of natural gifts when it comes to being able to cover, especially on man. Uh, but his technique is poor, and I think we're seeing him grow when it comes to technique.
Yeah. I don't disagree. Like I think he's a skilled player. Again, it's that cleaning up those techniques, it's those penalties that are really causing him because he's a really good defender. He made really good plays outside of
He
those
did that
penalties.
tip. I believe he was rushing the passer when he had the tip, and we
I
could have intercepted that too. We
I think he
never
had
get those for some
no, we
reason.
never do. We I think he deflected 3 balls on top of that interception.
Yeah,
So it again, he played really well. Again, it's those penalties that kind of just caused
yeah.
him. And again, I really think that those are what's causing him to kind of get
And let's just say he
dinged the most.
deserved to get benched last game. Like he did deserve. He had an atrocious game 2-3 weeks ago, and he deserved to get benched because of injuries. He came back in, and instead of just reinforcing why he got benched and just pouting about it, he went, he worked, and he had a really good game. This was a really good game. He wasn't perfect. I still think he gets unfairly judged towards like Jalen Ramsey standards. But overall, like a lot better game. You can't play like you did 2-3 weeks ago, and credit where credit's due.
Yeah. Running game wasn't great.
No,
You know,
atrocious.
it was not
Freeman was
good.
solid, but if you look at Henderson and people are asking like why did Henderson get cut and Freeman not?
Well, I mean,
Their averages like he had 6 attempts for 1 yard. That's not
sure. I mean,
acceptable, Zach.
and Freeman's been on the roster this whole year. I mean, and there's a reason why they brought uh, this was a short-term thing for Henderson, and I think he knew that. The team knew that when Kyron Williams was coming back, it was going to be Kyron Williams. Now, do I think that Kyron Williams could come back on the practice squad? I mean, especially with Ronnie Rivers not being
Henderson.
no, with Rodney Rivers still being injured, I think Henderson could take the practice squad spot.
Yeah.
If so because again, I think he's a good depth piece.
Yeah.
Obviously, Zach Evans wasn't really doing anything either, and so if something happens to Royce Freeman or to Kyron Williams again, I think Henderson again. He did not play his best this past game, but he knows the system. He's a solid run catcher. I mean, realistically, Matthew Stafford overthrew to Kyron Williams or to Kyron Williams, to Henderson on that sideline play. Like he was wide open and Stafford overthrew him. Now, I think Stafford even admits like he missed that. That was on
Yeah,
him. Like you
Stafford
could
has struggled to throw to the running back this year. He's just not been great at it.
he's had some misses. I mean, some of it was back in the earliest time, it was Kyron Williams who kind of dropped the ball a couple times, but yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's just, he's used to his receivers, like especially when he's going down the sideline. I think he's used to the speed of his receivers. And Henderson just doesn't have that speed to catch up. I mean, he was wide open. He was going to get 30, 40 yards. But you got to make those plays and,
Yeah, but on the ground, we have to get more than a yard on 6 attempts. You just, even if it's just falling forward for 2 during bad plays, that makes a whole lot of difference, especially when you're talking about analytics and your statistics to convert third down, which the Rams were atrocious on third down this game. Let me get those stats. Third down efficiency, we were 2 of 9, not acceptable, Zach. A fourth down, we were 0-1. That was on the goal line.
Which I was
Got to
so
convert those.
I mean, I know that they were down 7-0. Like
You
just
kicked the field goal there.
just take the field goal. Like I know you're trying, but I just take the field goal. This wasn't a dire situation where you needed a touchdown. You just needed some points on the board. And I think not getting that kind of it takes your offense and kind of like brings it down a bit when you can't get into that goal. So just taking the 3 points would have been a win. But they were trying to be aggressive, which I do like when the Rams are aggressive.
And we're a historically great team on fourth down. I think that goes into their calculus too.
Sure.
Especially last 3 seasons.
But when you have been struggling to score points, and it broke their streak, apparently they were 52 red zone attempts, highest in the league, of scoring in the red zone, and they broke that during that. And of course, the announcers announced that literally right before. Like I haven't heard that statistic all season long, and they say that statistic, and that's the time.
They mentioned it a few weeks ago.
But again, it's very infrequent. Like this is a frequent stat that we always bring up, and it's always those stat lines that they bring up right before it happens that they can't get it converted.
I mean,
so
we had the same thing with the leading at halftime.
It's frustrating
for a while.
Well, yeah, they kept saying that week after week after week, and I'm just like, just stop.
Yeah.
So Puka had a decent game. He was the best receiver, obviously, that we
70
had on the
yards.
field. He is getting so close to getting his 1,000 yards in a very short amount of time.
He'll get it. So.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's 103 yards away from hitting that 1,000 yards. He's only 28 yards away from getting the single season franchise of a rookie. So he could do that here within this week. And he would beat out the person who took 15 weeks to get to that same threshold. So exciting news there as far as that goes. You want to talk about the injuries?
Yeah, I'm Googling real quickly to see the most wide receiver yards by rookie, and that was Garrett Wilson, I believe. Uh, looking.
While you find that stat out, I'll kind of go through some of the injuries. So Sean McVay said that Puka Nacua did have a shoulder injury and he is day to day. The bigger concern is obviously with Cooper Kupp. He had a lateral ankle sprain. He is also considered day to day. We should find more information on Wednesday on his status. Obviously, he's probably still going to be questionable all the way up to game time decision. I would assume, unless they say he's good to go. I don't expect them to say he's out until, if he is out, I wouldn't expect it until Sunday.
Yeah, and that is Bill Groman in 1960 had 1,473 yards in 1960. That is nuts. Um, but that's an obtainable number, Zach, for Puka, especially with the extra game. I believe it was 14 games in the 60s. So,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah,
man,
we're at week 12, so we have 6 games left. So I mean, shoot, you divide that out. It's not very much to get that done. Um, so really looking forward to it. Puka's doing great.
yeah,
Um,
fantastic,
I'm super excited. I'm actually repping my Puka jersey now, so
awesome.
super excited for him and glad for his success. And really, the future is super bright for this kid.
Oh yeah,
So I'm super excited.
yeah.
All right. So other than that, we talked about the news. As far as that goes, anything else about the game? I need our offensive line to be better. They need to be better. They're just too much pressure is getting on Stafford. Didn't do super great in the run defense. Anything else you want
It's
to add?
a left tackle and center. Um, I think we need to at least have one free agent signed for either of those two, and then draft the other.
Yeah. Lastly, Tyler Higbee did not have a great game either. Um, it's been a struggle for him over the last couple of weeks. I know he's had some sort of injury, but we
Then don't
just
play him. Like if
or play somebody like let's try it out. But if he's the best option they have, even as injured, doesn't really look good as far as
then
the
you
depth
need to
piece
draft
go.
a tight end in top 3 rounds. If
Yeah.
that's unacceptable.
Yep. So, um, yeah, Rams did well against the Seahawks. I can now see the Seahawks getting completely blown out by the 49ers on Thursday night football. So
That defense is still really good. Like I feel like that game is going to be closer than people expect. Uh, their offense has to get chemistry. I think Geno Smith has been up and down in games, being quality, and they have to finish out games, and they struggle to finish out this year. So,
yep. All right, it's Cardinals. It's Cardinals week. This is
yeah.
our second game against them. We are playing in the desert. How are you feeling about this game? I mean, it's a 2-9 team. Is that what they are?
Um, we have to beat them. I
2-9.
mean,
I
Murray
mean,
is back. He's looked good. We've had really good success against Murray. So like the biggest problem we had against Dobbs was him rolling out. I feel like we can limit their pass catchers and we can get pressure because that line is not good at all. So just got to apply pressure, keep the edge, which we have struggled to do this year against mobile QBs, and limit his ability to run, which I think is going to be his greatest asset, Murray against us. So I think it's going to be a harder game than last time because he's better than Dobbs, clearly, and their offense is going to be humming. So we're going to have to win, I think, like a 27-24 type game. We're going to have to score, and if our offense isn't good and isn't in sync, Zach, I think we could lose this one. And again, if we lose this one, give me our we only can lose 2 games, and those 2 games going to be Ravens and 49ers. If we lose anything else, uh, we are most likely not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, in this game too, they also get Buda Baker back from the first time that we faced them, so there is that as well as a defensive threat to the offensive line. Um, yeah, the offense is going to have to get humming. I'm not super concerned. I think the defense can hold. We've seen the defense be able to hold and do things. He is mobile. He is a mobile quarterback, and that is kind of a detriment to the Rams defense. But if they can just contain him, to see if the defensive backs can contain their wide receivers, I'm not too worried about this. It's just all in how we do this. The run game is similar to it hasn't been great, so there's that. The receiving yards, it's a game we should win. It's a game we really should win. It's just all in our execution of our offense. It's going to come down to that every single week. Our defense is going to play. I don't expect this to be a high scoring game. I would assume it's going to be probably closer to what the Texans did on them, where it's going to be, whoever gets to 21st is probably going to be the one who wins this game.
Yeah, I mean, we've lost a lot of games this year that we should have won, and we were in close games, and we just couldn't execute on offense most of those games. So,
and this is a game. Obviously, this is a game that Kyle Murray wants to win. It's a divisional rival, so those are always tough. But at the same time, like, he's really trying to make a name for himself. I mean, this is a make it or break it year for him. It feels like he's either going to have to get better, or the Cardinals are going to move away from him, whether or not he signed a big contract or not. I mean, we've seen teams left and right choose to move on if their quarterback is not successful. And with the injury history he's had, the not really big success other than, that one season hasn't been there. So this is a make it or break it for him, and he's going to try things. And I think that's also a win for us. I think it's, when you feel your most desperate, that's also when you are at your most weakest point. And the Rams can exploit that, especially having Aaron Donald on your team.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have opportunities. They're going to be overly aggressive, and just got to, like I said, execution. I think that's what we've lacked all year, especially offensively.
But in the end, the Cardinals aren't really playing for anything. They're really out of
they're out of playoffs.
The path. So they're fighting for their pride right now. I never say a team is going out there to lose a game. I think Kyle Murray, again, he's going to want to play his heart out. I think all players want to just try to win as many games as they can. They're not as concerned as the draft order as maybe as the front office people, maybe.
The roster is kind of dumpster fire right now, outside of a few positions. But again, players play to win, and if you take a day off, we found out in what was it, 2019, when we played the winless Jets, like, if you don't prepare and don't take a game seriously as a roster, as a coaching staff, you're going to lose. It's the NFL.
Yep. But we get Kyren Williams back, which is a big boost to this offense. It's going to be something that they really need to rely on. Again, I'm not saying they should be run heavy, but I think Kyren Williams is that explosive player that we've been missing on the running back side of things. And so it's really going to have to make that Cardinals defense have to be able to prepare for the run or for the pass. I think that really puts us in a better opportunity to be a triple threat, where we can run the ball, we can do some adjustments, and get back to play action. We really need to get back into that, and with the running game is our path to that. So hopefully we can get out our brooms and have another sweep in the division. It's the only other opportunity we have to do so. So hopefully we can get back into the groove of things.
That will also automatically mean we have a winning record divisionally, which is a big boon for our playoff chances, right? Like, you got to look at it from that perspective. That's 4 playoff wins.
So, yeah. It would be very good to get that fourth divisional win. So, um,
I
yeah.
was looking at some like statistics and analytics about the wild card, the 7 spot, and
Mhm.
it is possible for the Rams to get there 8-9, depending on how the Vikings and Green Bay and Atlanta kind of shake out. So yeah, and
Okay,
Saints are also in there.
sure.
So that's our main competition.
And we
Saints
think
game is going to be big too.
it is Thursday night football, so it's our. I think it's the only other prime time. No, I guess it might be only other prime time game we got going on left in the season. So we will be looking forward to that. Um, yeah. Anything? Any other thoughts you got before we wrap this up?
Nope. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/at East Coast Rams. You can follow us on X. We are duplicating a lot of our content to threads. So make sure you follow us there. I think it's East Coast Rams Pod. There, follow us on Instagram. We are trying to be everywhere we can. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your podcatcher of choice. Ashton, it was great again to get to do this with you each and every week. It is Thanksgiving, so we're going to get to enjoy some time off a little bit until Sunday. Till we got to watch the Rams game. Anything else you want to say before we wrap? We officially sign off.
Enjoy time with family and friends. Definitely relax. I tend to be a workaholic, Zach, so it's going to be nice after I log off the day of work, being able to just sit and enjoy family.
Yeah, definitely enjoy some time off, rejuvenate, get the breaks you need, and then be ready to cheer on your Rams coming on Sunday. It's going to be a big game, big week, big divisional rivalry, and let's hope that we can get those brooms out again. So with that, whose house? Rams house.